And he said, "Captain, how are you doing?" I said, "Great, good to see you." I'd forgotten his name, but I took care of him for at least 2 years through a rehab program that we have here in Bellevue. Took him right off the street. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is this man and Marines like you are always there to help somebody out. And we're privileged from time to time to see the fruit of our labor. I have a very special place in my heart for Jim and his wife, as well as for every Marine in this room, and your families and your friends. Because I know this, if I ever have to depend on anybody, I can depend on you. You will never let us down. You never have and you never will. It's the greatest group in the world. It's a brotherhood and a sisterhood that cannot be beaten, and it'll never be broken. I'd like you to stand with me in prayer. I think we're going to have the salute to the flag right after our prayer time. Let us bow together. Almighty Father, whose command is over all of us, whose love never fails us, I pray that you make us aware of your presence today. Help us to be obedient to your will. Keep us true to the very best in ourselves, guarding us against dishonesty in purpose and deed, and help us to live so that we can face our fellow Marines, our loved ones, and especially you, without shame or fear. We ask you, Lord, to protect our families, especially for those who receive orders today and through the weeks to come, and would require the Marine to be in places far away from home and often in harm's way. Grant us the courage as Marines to be proficient in our daily performance, whatever it is. Keep us loyal and faithful to each other, to our country, and our Marine Corps. Lord, help every Marine who will wear his uniform today to wear it with dignity and to be reminded daily of the traditions that it represents. If we're inclined to doubt, make our faith steadfast. If we're tempted, make us strong to resist. And if we should miss the mark, give us the courage to try again. Guide us with the light of your truth and grant us your wisdom by which we may understand the answer to our prayer offered this very noon hour. Thank you for blessing our nation, our leaders, our commandant, and every Marine alive now serving or having served in days gone by. Thank you for blessing every Marine Corps family, and especially those families who have paid the supreme price for the cost of our freedoms. We know freedom is not free, and we thank you for bringing together those of us here today who are still willing to pay that price. Semper Fi, Lord, and amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. I have a couple of announcements to make. The first one is that we're a little tight in this room because we did not have quite as many RSVPs as we have people attending. So if you do get a notice that announces a meeting, please do send us an RSVP just so that we can have an accurate count for the hotel. It really helps us to do a good job, and it helps the hotel at the same time. As a result of the board meeting that followed last March's membership meeting, where we had the election of officers, I was again railroaded into serving one more year as your president. There will come a time there will come a time. Our new secretary is Sean Carr. Chris Tips remains the treasurer, and Tom Thurber remains as vice president. And we would welcome new board members, Jim Bricker, John Okerman, and Bill Baldwin. Now, Chris said some very kind things, which I wish he hadn't. I think that back in those days, one of the things that I truly remember about the Salvation Army kettle drill was that we were in Bell Square, and the merchants at Bell Square did not want us to ring bells. They didn't want the ding, 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 ding. And so I had all these Rotary clubs, and I had to get them to man these kettles, and we weren't going to be allowed to ring bells. So I had some little fans made that says ding dong, and we would go ding dong with the fans, and we got a lot of money. So it worked. It all worked. The next item is we're going to present the MECEP Bianchino Scholarship Award, and I'm going to call Ed Doyne up to do that.
So our middle name is support, or one of our middle names is support, the Marine Corps Support Group. One of the things we do to support the Marines in our community is to offer a book scholarship to one of the MECEP students, Marine Enlisted Commissioning Education Program at the University of Washington. This all started because of this couple right here, Vince and Celine Santiago, who are members of the group. Vince was one of my MECEPs when I had the major's job at the university, and he said, you know, I know how hard it is for these guys because they do have their VA benefits to help pay their tuition and stuff, but they're not like ROTC students with scholarships. So they have to lay out thousands of dollars for books. And so I want to start something, so he did. And Vince put up the initial contribution, and since then several of us have said, you know what, that's probably not going to buy too many books, so we got individuals are kicking in money each quarter. So each quarter the MOI recommends, and we select the outstanding MECEP of the quarter. There are some rules and regulations that says Sergeant Lewis can't win this 3 quarters in a row and those kinds of things. But you heard his little academic history, if you will, and his performance at the university. So I'd like to ask Sergeant Lewis and the Major to come up, and Celine and Vince, and we are going to present a certificate that recognizes Sergeant Lewis as the 4th, 5th, and 11th recipient of this award. So 11 quarters now we've been doing this. They send us a check every quarter. We enhance it a little bit with your contributions. You're all invited to kick in some money to help with that. And then we present this check to Sergeant Lewis along with this certificate. Okay?
Congratulations. Thank you, sir.
So you're going to graduate at the end of this quarter?
August, sir.
In August. Okay. And he's going to spend this last quarter overseas.
Yes.
Not in Iraq or Afghanistan, but in Sweden. Okay? So he's going to have Swedish books. Thank you very much. Jim, back to you.
He doesn't need a Swedish book because his fiancée is Swedish. She'll teach him everything he needs to know. Okay, for your records, our next meeting will be on September 15th right here at the Hilton. And I would like to remind you all that the Marine Corps birthday this year will be celebrated on Friday, November the 3rd, because the 10th is a little bit difficult for us to work out the logistics with other agencies that support us. So next meeting is September 15th, and then November the 3rd for the Marine Corps birthday. Now this morning we have 3 presentations we're going to make. First will be by Tricia Stromberg, who's going to talk a little bit about the Boots to Shoes program, which is a part of the support type of thing that we're doing with Marine for Life. Then Steve Sanford is going to twist our arms for the Wounded Warrior program. And finally, we're going to have Phil Jennings, who will caustically, sarcastically, and otherwise berate us, or whatever. I've already asked Phil for this question, but he didn't know the answer. I had to remind him what the answer was. But I'm going to ask you other age 34 guys. You know what these are? tail wheel locking pins. One of them shorter than the other. You want to tell them why? Yeah. Pilots in helicopters often have to pay off their crew chiefs. If you're an H-53 pilot and you're flying along and you happen to grab this tail skag, which is something that sticks down below the tail boom in the back to keep you from catching your tail rotor, and if you scrape the paint off, it's a case of beer to the crew chief. The same applied for tail wheel locking pin. If you fly along and you land and your gear is not properly positioned with the tail wheel locking pin, you'll shear that off. The crew chief gets a case of beer. I mean, pilots have got to pay attention. Co-pilots are out there to kill them, and crew chiefs are there to collect beer. Trish,